Welcome home, brave heroes and Kai Lords alike. I'm Ash, this is HashQuest, and yes, get excited. It is finally time for us to continue our Lone Wolf journey by now playing Fire on the Water. This is Book 2 in the Kai series, the HomeGuard Press edition of the classic role-playing adventure game contained within a single game book. Part of the Lone Wolf series. I have here my stats from the end of the first book in the HomeGuard Press series, and my playthrough of Flight from the Dark with our combat skill of 17 base, our endurance points of 26, and our 5 Kai skills, healing, hunting, weapon skill with the warhammer, mind blast, and animal kinship. I was lucky enough to get a warhammer in that first book, and in my backpack I have 2 meals, a scroll, the Vorpak gem, and a potion that will restore 4 endurance points. I have no special items at this time, and 34 gold crowns in my pouch. We are beginning Fire on the Water, this beautifully presented volume, widely accessible and easy to get and pick up now, thanks to the remaster reprint through HomeGuard Press. Without further ado, let us begin our Tome Tuesday. Readers have nothing but glowing things to say about the Lone Wolf series. And yes, here we have a complete listing of all of the Kai, Magna Kai, Grandmaster, New Order, and Endgame books, at least as of the time of the publication of this volume. The bearer of this scroll, namely Ash, is an initiate in the disciples of the Kai. Fire on the Water. Now we've basically created our character sheet. Our combat records will be etched in the generous amount of white space here that I've left. And I'm going to be playing with a 10-sided die rather than randomly selecting a number using my pencil at the end of the book's random number table. I've had a long discussion with this D10, and we've agreed that we would like to keep it out of the landfill, and we would like to keep it off of the chair of bad dice. And so it is going to be my constant companion through this book. Whether it shall survive to see future books depends on its behavior. Generous copies of the combat record and action chart, and then we are able to start our story. The story so far. You are Lone Wolf, an initiate in the Order of the Kai, the gifted warrior lords of the land of Sommerland. 2 days ago, your peaceful country was plunged into war when a vast army, led by Dark Lord Zagarna, launched a surprise invasion into Sommerland and destroyed the monastery stronghold of the Kai. All of the Order were present at the monastery for the Feast of Femarn, the celebration of the first day of spring, and all were slain in a great battle against the invading foe. You are the sole survivor of this fateful battle, and you have sworn to avenge the deaths of your fellow Kai. Your immediate task was to escape from the burning ruins of the Kai monastery and make your way to HomeGuard, the Somlending capital, in order to inform the king of the massacre at the monastery. Without the Kai to lead her armies, Sommerland would be unable to mobilize in time to drive back Dark Lord Zagarna's invading hordes. Your journey to HomeGuard was perilous indeed. The enemy was swiftly overrunning the countryside and marching in force upon the capital. Yet despite the many dangers you faced, you fought your way through the enemy's lines and reached the capital, where you delivered your sad news to King Ulnar V. The king and his courtiers praised you highly for your skill and courage, but your duty was not yet fulfilled. With the Order of the Kai destroyed, there now remains only one power within reach that can save your people from the wrath of Dark Lord Zagarna. That power is the Sommersword, the legendary sword of the sun. In olden times, during the age of the Black Moon, the Dark Lords of Helgedad waged war on Sommerland. The conflict was a long and bitter trial of strength that ended in victory for the Somlending at the great battle of Makengorge. King Ulnar I, himself gifted with Kai powers, aided by the allies of Duranor, broke the Dark Lord armies at the pass of Moitura and forced them back into the bottomless abyss of Makengorge. Vashna, who was at that time the mightiest of the Dark Lords, was slain upon King Ulnar's sword, Sommersword. Since that age, the Dark Lords have vowed vengeance upon Sommerland and the House of Ulnar. Following the defeat of Dark Lord Vashna, the Sommersword was bestowed upon the allies of Duranor as a mark of the trust and allegiance that exists between the two kingdoms. In return, King Alan I of Duranor gave Sommerland a magnificent golden ring bearing the royal arms of Duranor. This ring is known as the Seal of Hammerdal. At that time, King Alan I vowed that if ever the shadow of the West were to rise again to threaten Sommerland, then loyal Duranor would come to the aid of her ally. King Ulnar V has given you the Seal of Hammerdal. Your mission and duty is to travel to Duranor and present the seal to its current ruler, King Alan IV. In return, he will give you the fabled Sommersword. You must then return to HomeGuard as quickly as you are able so that the Sommersword can be used against Dark Lord Zagarna. Since your arrival at the King's Citadel in Holmgard, word has arrived that Sigarna's forces have broken through the city's outer defenses and are now preparing to besiege the great walls of the capital itself. Ask Captain Duval of the King's Guards escorts you to the Royal Armory in order that you may equip yourself for your journey to Durinor. King Ulnar's parting words to you keep repeating themselves in your mind. 40 days, Lone Wolf. We have strength to stand against Dark Lord Sigarna's army for only 40 days. The game rules. We know the rules, so we do not have to re-establish our combat skill nor our endurance points. If you have successfully completed Book 1 of the Lone Wolf Adventures, you will already have your combat skill, endurance points, and Kai Disciples, which you may now carry over with you to Book 2. However, if you deem it necessary, all lost endurance points may be recovered before starting Book 2, and we shall. You may also carry over any weapons, backpack items, and special items that you held at the end of Book 1, and these should be entered on your new action chart. You are still limited to 2 weapons and 8 backpack items. Through the experience you have gained in Book 1, you have learned a new skill, and you may now choose 1 extra Kai discipline to add to your action chart. Kai disciplines: camouflage, hunting, sixth sense, tracking, healing, weapon skill, mind shield, mind blast, animal kinship, and mind over matter. I have currently healing, hunting, weapon skill, mind blast, and animal kinship. I have decided to think very much about choosing sixth sense so that I may gauge the intentions of strangers. However, if I choose mind shield, then I will no longer be subject to the attack that some of the enemies have. It can protect me from losing any endurance points when subjected to the mind blast of enemies. I may go ahead and do that, but then again, I do have healing. So even if I do lose endurance points in battle through every section that I pass through that doesn't involve combat, I should be able to heal that back. So I think what I'm going to do this time is sixth sense, and that is what I will write on my action chart. Surely we will be able to come back to this and grow further when we have finished Fire on the Water, yes? By the way, I am going to play with a bit of a modified rule in that if I meet imminent death, in other words, am one-shot because of an instant death passage, I'm going to start back at a passage that I have saved in my saved game section here on my modified action chart. I won't go back to the passage just before the death part. I will actually go back to the saved game wherever that is. If I choose to do a saved game after every passage, I think that would be a bit overkill if valid at this point. I can only tell you that I've decided not to do that, and I will try to save only every few passages or several passages. Save scumming would be a bit of an immersion breaker, I think, for a lot of people, myself included. So I won't scum the saves, but I will keep myself safe from an instant death passage. There may be particularly hard battles also that I can learn from while I am fighting, but still lose because I learned my lesson too late. At any rate, I will make sure to pick up from my saved game, and I will keep track of the number of deaths that I have suffered in this particular game. I was killed 3 times in the first book. So if I am killed 3 or less times in this book, I may consider adapting a limit of how many times I can pick up my saved games. Sixth Sense has been written on the action chart. Your basic possessions comprise a green tunic and a cloak of a Kai initiate. You also have a backpack, a belt, a leather pouch in which you keep your money, gold crowns, and a map of the Last Lands. This map shows the location of your native country, Summerland, and its capital city, Holmgard. It also shows the land of Durinor, away to the east and the wildlands which separate the 2 kingdoms. King Ulnar V has given you the seal of Hammerdal. You wear that ring on the index finger of your right hand. This is a special item to be recorded in your action chart. We will write the seal of Hammerdal. Kingsguard Captain Duval leads you to the Royal Armory, where your green tunic and Kai cloak are taken from you to be repaired and cleaned. While you await their return, Captain Duval hands you a pouch of gold for your journey. To find out how much gold is in the pouch, pick a number from the random number table. This number can be the 3rd you picked when you calculated your combat skill and endurance. Now add 10 to the number you have picked. The total equals the number of gold crowns inside the pouch. You may enter this number in the gold crowns section of your action chart. And if you successfully completed Book 1, you may add this sum to the total of any crowns you may already possess. And if your backpack was lost or damaged, you are given a replacement. It's 3, which means I have been given 13 gold crowns. There's our 13, and you know that we had this talk, Mr. 10-sided die. On a large table in the center of the armory, a number of items have been laid out for your inspection. You may take any 4 of the following: a sword, a short sword, 2 meals, a chainmail waistcoat, a mace, a potion of Lomspur, a quarterstaff, a spear, a shield, a broadsword. If you are already carrying weapons from Book 1, you can take this opportunity to exchange one or both of them. I will exchange my short sword for my shield. Now I will have a shield and a warhammer. Oh, the shield is actually recorded as a special item. That's interesting. Shield plus 2 CS. That being the case, I guess I will exchange my short sword for a spear. I will continue to carry my warhammer. We are going to take the chainmail waistcoat. This adds 4 endurance points to your total. If you possess a battered padded leather waistcoat, you may wear it under the chainmail waistcoat. This is also a special item. Now, having played through this book before, I know that we are going to, spoiler alert, be on the water. I'm not sure why I would remember this particular detail. It seems like a very vague thing to remember. Lastly, I will get the Potion of Lomspur, and that's going to be my 4 items: the shield, the spear, the chainmail waistcoat, and the potion. Potion of Lom plus 4 EP. We know how to carry and use our equipment, so we will just continue on from here. Although it's a good reminder that the maximum amount of gold crowns that I can carry is 50. I'm actually very close to that with 47 gold crowns. So I guess I have to give my 10-sided die a little bit of a reprieve for not rolling too high there. We know about the rules for combat. Basically, we will add up our combat skill from all of our modifiers, and then we will add up the enemy's combat skill. And then that will give us our combat ratio. It would be a really good idea for me to take these 2 pages and somehow photocopy them so that I always have them present instead of having to come back and flip to the back of the book. So I will be planning on doing that. But the combat ratio can range from -11 or greater to +11 or greater. And if my combat skill is, say, 17 and the enemy's is 19, that's a difference of 2 in the enemy's favor, which means the combat ratio would be -2. And the column for -2 and -1 is here. Now, for each combat round, I will roll my 10-sided dice, and the result, which will be tracked on the left here to line up with my fields in the column, will dictate how many endurance points I will lose versus how many the enemy will lose. And so, with a roll of a 3 in this situation, we would each lose 4 endurance points if we were to have this negative combat ratio. Obviously, the higher the combat ratio is in your favor, the less points you're going to lose, the more points your enemy is going to lose. So it's important to have a high combat score. Mine is currently 17. I have a +2 with Mind Blast, and a +2 with the Warhammer. So I actually have a combat skill of 21. Some creatures will be immune to my Mind Blast, so I won't have that additional 2 points of combat skill in that case. Also, now that I have chosen a shield, I will have an additional 2 points of combat skill. It is in my interest to end battles quickly and be the victor. We can also evade combat if that particular section says that we can, although I will be trying to not do that. I am ready to fight. We have levels of Kai training. We begin the Lone Wolf Adventures with the level of Kai training of an initiate. Beyond the 10 basic skills of the Kai Master await the secrets of the higher Kai disciplines. I don't know why I keep trying to say disciple. Disciplines, or Magna Kai. By acquiring the wisdom of the Magna Kai, a Kai can progress towards the ultimate achievement and become a Kai Grand Master. For Summerland and the Kai. Here is our beautiful map, by the way. And it looks like we are basically going to skip going through all of these landmark areas by sailing. We'll sail, I believe, out of Holmgard, or we will travel perhaps to one of these port towns and then sail until we get to another port to reach Hammerdal. Or maybe we would be able to skip getting on the water altogether. Wouldn't that be something? This is Fire on the Water. 1. Captain Duval and a detachment of his guardsmen escort you to the gate of the King's Citadel, where a small covered wagon awaits you. As soon as you clamber in the back, the gates are thrown open and you are hurried away through the crowded streets of Holmgard. After a short and uncomfortable journey, the wagon halts and the driver pulls open the canvas flap. "This is the Holmgard Quay, my liege. There is your ship, the Green Scepter," he says, pointing across the busy dockside to a sleek trade caravel anchored alongside the harbor wall. "The first mate's name is Ronan. You will find him waiting for you across the way at the Good Cheer Inn." Then the driver bids you farewell and drives his wagon away into the teeming crowds. You push through the crowd and reach the inn only to discover that its front doors are locked and all of its window shutters are barred and padlocked. You are thinking what to do next when a hand grabs your arm and you are pulled into the darkness. If you wish to draw your weapon and attack your unknown assailant, turn to 273. If you wish to try and pull free of their strong grasp, turn to 160. We'll do that first. We don't necessarily want to attack the assailant. They might be trying to help us. "Forgive me. I didn't mean to startle you." The man seems nervous, and the open hand that is extended towards you is shaking quite visibly. With some caution, you accept the gesture of friendship and sit with the man at a tavern table. The place is deserted, save for a couple of mice gnawing at a large chunk of cheese. Captain Gelman has instructed me to take you to the Green Scepter, but only if I am sure that you are the Kai they call Lone Wolf. Can you prove your identity? You decide that in order to prove to the man that you really are a Kai warrior, you must show him your mastery of one of your Kai disciplines. Disciplines. Again with this. Kai disciplines. Kai disciplines. If you wish to demonstrate your Kai discipline of healing, well, which one should I do? Healing, mind blast, weapon skill, animal kinship, mind over matter, or if I don't wish to demonstrate my special skill to this man? Perhaps it would be a good idea if I didn't demonstrate any of these skills. Or I'll just mind blast him. Is that what's going on here? I guess if I'm going to demonstrate my Kai discipline of animal kinship, I would be manipulating the mice. I kind of like that idea. I'd like to see what happens if I do that. I'll turn to 203, and that is how I will prove that I am Lone Wolf. Feeling hungry, you say, peering at the 2 busy house mice in the far corner. Perhaps you would care for some cheese. Using your Kai discipline, you order the 2 mice to bring you the cheese. The sailor looks on in amazement as the 2 furry little creatures do your bidding. They deposit the cheese at your feet before scurrying away. Turn to 268. And I feel bad for taking their cheese. You know he's not going to eat that cheese. We have a lot of really beautiful illustrations in here. You are indeed a Kai warrior, says the sailor, but the astonishment on his face is quickly replaced by an unpleasant sneer. Or should I say, you were. As he speaks, a door crashes open behind your back. You glance over your shoulder to see 3 harbor thugs. They advance towards you with murder in their eyes. Each of them is armed with a scimitar. You must fight all 3 as one enemy. Well then, it looks like we have our first fight. The harbor thugs. You may evade after 2 rounds of combat by running through a side door of the tavern. If you win this combat, we can turn to 333. There they are. They have a combat skill of 16. I'm going to make short work of them. We have a combat skill of 17, 18, 19 with our weapon skill, 20, 21 with our mind blast, and then 22, 23 with our shield. That gives us a combat ratio of 6. Positive 6, by the way. So this is our column, and we will go ahead and begin combat. We'll just go ahead and make short work of these thugs. That's a 6, our very first number. And right at the top here, thugs, plus 6 combat ratio. I have rolled a 6. And that brings me to -1 endurance point, the enemy -11. Now their endurance is 25, which means that they have been brought down to 14 endurance points remain. We will simply go into our next round of combat. Actually, I do need to -1 my own endurance, so I will do that here. We will go from 26 to 25. Although I just remembered I have on the chainmail waistcoat, which increases my EP by 4, so actually 30, because I'm pretty sure wearing armor increases my max EP. So I'm down to 29, actually. I'm not too hung up on this detail because I think the healing is going to come in handy enough that I won't have to worry about dying at all. We'll go ahead and roll our die for our second round of combat. We have rolled a 1, which is perfectly fine. I'm going to lose 4 endurance points. They're going to lose 6. They now have 8, and I now have 25. We will now roll our third combat. Maybe we don't want to roll on the book. Maybe that's what's going on here. We've rolled a 9, and that's pretty much going to destroy them. Thank you, you little gesture of a die. A 9 means that they have lost 16 endurance points. I have lost none, and they have been absolutely crushed. So we will turn to 333. The sailor, who claimed to be the first mate Ronan, escaped during the fight. Hurriedly, you search the bodies of the harbor thugs, but find nothing of value. However, you do notice that each of them has a tattoo of a writhing serpent on their left wrist. Whoever sent them to kill you must already know of the grave importance of your quest. You leave the tavern by the side door and discover the dead body of a sailor lying beneath some stairs. Inside the collar of his blood-stained jacket is a tag bearing the name Ronan. This is the real Ronan, and the poor man has clearly been murdered. You cover the body and turn towards the quay, where the Green Scepter is anchored about 300 yards away from the harbor wall. If you wish to use one of the many small boats or coracles that are roped to the quayside, turn to 300. If you wish to hunt down the imposter who pretended to be Ronan and lured you into a trap, turn to 67. This is a pretty difficult choice already, so we will do our first saved game on page 333. Not page, but section. We are going to go ahead and use one of the many small boats and turn to 300. We've already murdered 3 of those thugs. I think they've learned somewhat of a lesson. As you paddle towards the sleek trade caravel, you notice to your surprise that the boarding ladder is being pulled up. A mean-looking sailor leans over the gunwale and curses at you. He seems to think that you are a desperate refugee attempting to stow away on board. But when you shout that you are a lone wolf and you were ambushed by an impostor at the tavern, the ladder is soon lowered again. As you climb over the side of the ship, you are met by a tall man in a blue uniform trimmed with gold braid. His head and face is almost totally covered by a shock of bright red hair and a curly red beard. "Haul anchor!" he booms. The crew spring into action as if their very lives depended on it. Spring into action, even. Sping. The captain ushers you below to his cabin where he pours 2 glasses of Wanlo, a strong spirit made from black cherries. His face shows concern as you tell him what happened. "There is evil treachery at work here. Clearly the enemy already has plans afoot to thwart your quest," he begins, after you have told him what happened to you on the dockside. "It seems you have lost the element of surprise, and I have lost a courageous first mate. Let us hope that we lose nothing more during the voyage to Durinor. May our voyage be swift and safe." You finish your Wanlo and leave the captain's cabin to go up on deck. You are just in time to see the silhouette of Home Guard on the distant horizon. With mixed feelings of pride and apprehension, you descend the stairway to your cabin as the tallest tower of the capital disappears from view. We will now pick a number from the random number table, and it is 7. We are turning to section 22. Early the next morning, you are awoken by the cry of the deck watchman. "Wreckage off the starboard bow!" Quickly dressing, you climb up on deck and join the captain at the ship's rail. Pick a number from the random number table. I'm starting to remember this section of the book, and this is pretty close to where I met my end in the classic journey. It's a 1, of course, and we will turn to 119. Shattered beams, tangles of rigging, pieces of planking, and torn sails litter the white-flecked waves. It is all that remains of a merchant ship. Then you notice a body clinging to a shattered hatch cover. You draw the crew's attention to the survivor, and a rope ladder is quickly lowered. As the poor man is brought aboard, his eyes flicker open. "Pirates!" It is all he is able to say before he loses consciousness and collapses to the deck. 2 crewmen wrap the man in a large blanket and take him below. He has suffered many deep wounds and is very close to death. "This crime bears the mark of the lacquery pirates," the captain confides in you. "But it is unusual to run across them in these waters. They must be in search of a rich cargo to sail so far from their tropical islands." As the ship resumes its course for Durinor, you cannot help but wonder if that rich cargo could be you. To continue, turn to 240. After 3 uneventful days at sea, you find shipboard life rather dull and dreary. If you have the Kai discipline of healing, any endurance points that you have lost in your adventures so far are restored. This will bring your endurance points back to your initial level. If you do not possess the skill, you may restore half of any points you have lost in combat, fractions rounded down. Well, I do, so that's going to bring me all the way back up to 30. On the afternoon of the 4th day, you are talking with an injured sailor up on the main deck when you smell smoke seeping out from the ship's hold. If you wish to enter the hold and investigate, turn to 29. I have other options. I can turn to warn the captain. I can shout fire and raise the alarm. I'm going to investigate right away, but I am going to save. This is my second save on page 240, section 240. I'll use the terms interchangeably. Thank you. Going to 29 now. Whoops. You release the lock and slide back the hatch cover. The sudden indraught of air causes flames to billow out of the hold. You stumble backwards, clutching your scorched face, losing 2 endurance points. "Fire! Fire!" the alarm cry goes up. In a state of near panic, the crew fights desperately to put out the flames. It takes over an hour to control the blaze. The resulting damage to the ship is considerable. The entire store of food and fresh water was kept in that hold, and it has been totally ruined. The fire has also badly weakened the structure of the ship. As you survey the wreckage, the captain approaches you, his face blackened by the smoke. He is carrying something in a bundle tucked under his arm. "We must talk in private," he says quietly. Without replying, you turn and follow him below to his cabin. 222. After taking care to close his cabin door, the captain opens the mysterious bundle and tips the contents onto his chart table. A large charred earthenware jug and several blackened rags drop in a heap. They give off a strange, oily smell. "This was no accidental fire," he says solemnly. "This was an act of sabotage. The forward hold is a food store, yet I find this oil jug and these soaked rags upon the floor. Someone on this ship is prepared to endanger his own life to stop us reaching Durinor." You both stare at the burnt rags as if they hold the answer to your questions. Suddenly, a cry from up on deck breaks the silence. "Ship ahoy! Ship off the port bow!" Grabbing his sword and telescope, the captain disappears through the cabin door and up the ladder to the deck above. If you wish to follow him, turn to 175. If you choose to use this opportunity to search his cabin, turn to 315. Well, I lost 2 endurance points, but I have gotten through this one section, so I've gained 1 back. And now I wonder, do I need to search the captain's cabin? Is the captain himself sabotaging the ship? I have the option. I suppose I can take it. Let's go ahead and search the cabin. Keeping one eye on the door, you quickly search the drawers of an ornate chart table. There does not appear to be anything unusual about the contents. You find mainly charts, island maps, and navigational instruments. You are about to abandon this fruitless search when you notice a small lever hidden below the tabletop. You push it, and a panel flips open to reveal a small wooden box with an ornate brass lock. I could prise open the lock of the wooden box, or I could replace the box and join the captain on deck before he suspects something is amiss. Perhaps I am going to be making a mistake, but I'm going to prise open the lock of the wooden box. 190. There we go. Using the edge of a steel rule to prise open the lock, you suddenly feel a sharp pain in your chest. A cunning trap has been set, and as you open the box, a small needle shoots out and embeds itself in your flesh. It is tipped with a deadly and swift-acting poison. Death is almost instantaneous. Tragically, your mission and your life end here. Well, it's back to 240 we go, and we have our options from before, where we choose how to react to the fire that is presently on board the ship. This time, I think we'll choose a different option, but this time, I think, is best saved for the next episode of our Tome Tuesday playthrough of Fire on the Water. Oh, that's why it's called that. Look at how far through the book we are already. That's a joke. Don't go correcting me in the comments, please. So I hope you enjoyed this playthrough of Fire on the Water. We are going to pick up from our saved game. We are going to have recovered our endurance points to 30, so we'll just be able to open the book and begin choosing again. And it won't be long before that day comes. So thank you, brave heroes, for joining me today. Thank you for your kind attention. Comment what you like down below. Tell me what you like about this series, what you don't like. What is your favorite Lone Wolf book? And no spoilers, please. I do take some advice, some hints, as long as they are spoiler-free. It's too late for me to change my Kai discipline, but maybe you can tell me which one to pick up that would be the most useful through the 3rd book once we get there. That's a long ways away from now, I think. But for now, thank you again, and I'll see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave heroes, bye for now.